it with Nicky. Drop it with Nicky. Drop it with Nicky. Drop it with Nicky. Drop it with Nicky.
Welcome to this episode of Jobbing with Nicky, and today I am joined by a guy that needs no introduction, and today is Liam Lazarus.
Hey, Nicky.
Is this one day only Liam Lazarus?
Yeah. I thought I'd bring it back. I had the option to put in a name, and I thought, well, let's go with a throwback.
Where did Lazarus go? I've got to ask, what made you get rid of it?
Where did it go? So I was kind of in a difficult split of, I was working at NGW, and Rich had wanted me to have a real name. So, and I've been put in the papers, like, and this is a weird thing, like, this stayed on Wikipedia for absolutely ages, of like, that it says that I'm from Keighley, and I'm not from Keighley, but when we ran Keighley, I was like billed as like the hometown boy because I was from Bradford. Like, I couldn't be any further from Keighley if I tried. But it said hometown boy, Liam Slater, Keighley, etc., etc. So then I was kind of like balanced between the two, and just realistically, NGW had more to offer in terms of where it was going and where it was growing. So Lazarus kind of got dropped for Slater, and then there was a transitioning point between the two. I tried a little bit of like, there's a company called Hope Future that never really like got its start, but I'd used like the Lazarus Kid, Liam Slater, and that's probably the only entity of that like existing. But yeah, I just kind of let it drop out because I was kind of managing two different sides of a character, and like people knew me as one place, then one the other place, and it was all a little bit messy. And there's probably instances of that as we chat through this, where there's split things where it's like, if I'd have just maybe been a little bit clearer or had a little bit more guidance, I'd have maybe gone one way quicker than the other way. But that's where Lazarus went. It just kind of, I always had like, it's always kind of stayed with me, like throughout last year, where I was doing like the little vlogs. They were always like titled Laz vlogs. Like I use it like, I use it across the board in places, but it's there as like a little Easter egg reference for me, and not really as like a brand thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that you still embody it and use it. Yeah, I think that's really good, because I think I first saw you as, I don't know if I saw you as Lazarus or Slater first, to be honest.
So that was a question that I was going to have for you, actually, was where was the first time that you will have seen me/we met? Because obviously there's all the Tidal stuff, but then there's a bit of NGW stuff. I don't think UKW was a crossing point there. I might be wrong on that.
I think I saw like, you at UKW, but I didn't like talk to you.
Yeah. For me, it's Tidal. Like there's a link that comes through there, and then there's the more that kind of stems around from there.
Yeah, there was like BWE as well. Like I used to see you a lot down there, because the whole reason I went to a BWE show is I came through to Leeds for Tidal, and I was stopping over, and I saw that you and Sean Only were on a show the day before or the day after. So I was like, oh, might as well go to that as well then. Yes. It was like, so I thought, might as well, and absolutely loved that as well. But I think back when I first met, there weren't as much wrestling, like in Leeds, especially, like this area. There was a lot, but it was all the same, if you get me.
Yeah.
It was like the same roster, the same kind of storylines.
Yes. Yeah, like, I think I got quite fortunate as I was coming up and through that, you know, I got my start. I started in 2011. I had my first match in 2012. And then I was fortunate enough to be on Tidal's first show that was in like 2013. Wow. And then really once that, was that 2013 or was it 14? It might have been 14. I might be wrong on that. But anyway, as that kicked in, it then became kind of like Tidal popping up in different places, and like the people that had been influenced from that were then doing little other bits that were here and there. I don't know. Do you recall Monkey Badness at all in York?
I do.
Yeah. Like that was just the most random show. I wrestled JD Boom. I was dressed as a monkey. Like before we could put the ring up, there was a wake that was happening in the room that we were using. So like we
You
walked in the
were
room and we were like, yeah, it was. I think that maybe had 2 shows. I had the Monkey Madness T-shirt forever, and then it's obviously got lost in amongst the years of stuff. But that was like that was a very heavy Tidal influence. And you're right, there was just a lot. Whereas now there are so many different little offshoots and promotions that run their own thing and do their own thing and have like, people that work there on a set. The world of professional wrestling now, and this is kind of why I said I wanted to talk more about stuff that had happened, because the world now and the world then are really separated. And I think sometimes, especially for me and the people that came up in that world, it's hard to separate those two things sometimes.
Yeah,
And we should do, because they are different.
yeah, they are like totally different. Like even from when I stopped going to then when I came back, you could just see the difference. And I mean, everyone that I used to watch back then all have their own schools now. And I mean, it makes me feel really old because it's like, Rampage Brown wrestling at Leeds University. And now everyone I talk to, they're like, I want to go train with Rampage Brown. And it's crazy to see. Like, look at Jake. I met him at Grapple, and now he's got his own promotion. And then you, like, what you do now and how you rose while I was off. I was still following everyone while I was away. And I was just like, oh my God, like, look at the rise in Liam Slater now from raffle tickets at NGW, from training, because I think I met you and Sean only at the same show.
Yeah, which would that have been a Keithley show? I remember there's definitely
Olympia. I think it might have been Liverpool Olympia.
Yeah, so there's photos of us, or there's a photo of us, maybe at Olympia, but there's definitely one in Ormskirk as well. Which again, and then I know it exists. I know that you were there, and then I go, well, weird travel to, like, because my head just goes West Yorkshire, and then I go, no, there's this, and again, what a weird thing that NGW was also like, we're gonna go run in Liverpool now. Like, it just odd times. We did a show in Stoke once that just happened. But yeah, it's very likely that it was either an Olympia show in Liverpool, which was the coldest venue I've ever been in my entire life, or the Ormskirk Civic Hall.
Gosh, yeah, I think I used to go to a lot of NGW. I used to go everywhere. Like, I'd go up to Ormskirk, I'd go to Liverpool, I'd go to Keighley, I'd go to, they did them in Pudsey round corner now. But at that time, I lived in Doncaster.
Yes.
So, like, I was traveling all this way for wrestling. I always say to Jeebus, I'm like, I was the original Jeebus, right? We just missed each other. As I stopped, he started. And I was like, I was the original you. Like, just, we didn't have good quality phones back then.
Yeah, and that's what I think about sometimes as well, of like the difference in like how we produce content now, and then what it was like, and like those like early innovators of like making content and stuff. And I remember trying stuff because I used to be quite I still am like an independent wrestling fan, and like Kevin Steen had these like Weekend Escapade videos, and I was like, cool, I'm going to do that. And I had like this little blue camera that's actually the camera that I use for some really early promos that are probably still floating around on YouTube. But like, I tried to do it where I was like filming. Where was I going? I remember filming a bit at Bradford Interchange, and then it just not happening, and then just not having the capacity to be able to edit and stuff like that. And where now everything is like on a phone.
Yeah.
That I had to have a camera. Look at me being like, back in my day. but genuinely, back in the day, I had a camcorder. I'd then have to go onto my laptop that was just terrible to try and edit, and then to like try and upload onto YouTube with like some terrible broadband speeds, and it was just it was basically impossible. But yeah, like what a different world now, where you can kind of I edited something on my phone and uploaded it at the show.
Yeah.
On Saturday, so
I do
different
it.
worlds.
I do the backstage interviews at UKW, and I'll be like, right, I'll get there early, do them, and then I sit at a table with a coffee, edited up, and I'm like, that was so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy just to do it all now. But yeah, I did go to YouTube last night, and I was watching. I actually got stuck in a loop of watching you versus Joseph Connors at NGW.
Yeah, God damn, did we wrestle at NGW? Yeah, a lot of them.
I remember I was at the one where your brother got involved. Where
Dan Slater, yes.
I was at that show. It's not your real brother.
No, we were no relation.
I feel like you just told me Santa ain't real.
I know, really sorry. No, he wasn't my real brother. That was really nice.
All these years, I thought that was your brother.
No, we looked at the reason why they did it is because we looked kind of similar. I think he was called Dan. I'm pretty sure I've not made that up that he was referred to as Dan Slater.
I can't remember. I got in a loop of watching you versus Joseph Connors last night. But yeah, my mind's blown with that now. Just thrown me right off.
He was a very capable young lad. I want to say he was like maybe 16, 17. And like we just put him in that angle, like he'd just done the bit and like was going to be involved more. But was really good at Taekwondo or something like that, and just went and did tournaments, like did some Taekwondo tournaments, and then just never reappeared again, which is why he never resurfaces, because he just left. He was also in a position of being young that he couldn't be on the shows, and like trying to get anywhere in Hull at that time was difficult because it was NGW or bust. But like the talent stack at NGW was high, so then trying to get anywhere else was it just wasn't there. And then you had to travel further out, and that was difficult. I really felt for the lads that were in Hull. It's kind of where BWR was born from. Of them going.
Yeah. I think Scott Bell was on about that on his episode.
Yeah. We need somewhere that we can wrestle because we're not getting the reps in, and it's just because NGW was running city halls and that was it. And like Rich was like run to the bone and stuff like that, so I don't blame him. But like the proving ground shows again, we're also at a high standard. Yeah. So then it was really hard for those people to come through. So Dan, if that was his real name, I'm really sorry for Taekwondo Dan if it's not your name. Was just not in a position to be doing matches. Or just wasn't getting the opportunity, so went and did Taekwondo, and that was it. But yeah, me and Joe Connors, loads of matches, loads of this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, and loads of stuff.
That's what I love the storylines. I say it all the time. Like, I'm so storyline based when I'm watching my wrestling. It's not that I don't like the shows where it's just random matches, but I prefer it when I've got that emotional investment, and after all these years, if I can still be emotionally invested. Like, I'll watch Sammy and Gung Ho beat the crap out of each other, and I'll be talking to them before, it'll all be fine, all mates, and then I'll watch the match and I'll still get just as emotionally invested.
But that's the beauty of pro wrestling, right? Is like it should be story driven. There should be like an element of story to it. Like the basis of his pro wrestling is it's person A and person B, and they're in a competition to see who wins. But then everything else that comes from that is what hooks us in, and what is what the drama is. And it's no different to if you went to a theater, and like you watched a production happening there. You can talk to the actors beforehand, you can talk to them afterwards, but you can get fully invested in the performance that they're doing and get loads from it. So but it does need some basis of story.
Yeah. I remember when I used to work at Asda, and I got some stick from them because I missed the Christmas do, because it was the same day as Tidal's Christmas show. And they were like, "You're not coming to a Christmas party?" I was like, "No, I've got to go see what's happening." I think Sean Only had just come back, the Michael Myers thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to go see what's happening. I can't miss it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because and also at that time as well, again, look at this, like in the old days, but like the access to information was so little that you kind of had to go because if not, the DVD production is coming out of the show after it. Like, that's the way that you got hold of them. Yep. So then, like, you missed it, or like there might be just the way that social media used to work is just a different world now. It's like now it's a consistent rolling 24-hour news cycle that constantly comes through, and like I'm as soon as the show is done, I'm immediately up to date, and then there's another show that's happening. Yeah. Whereas there was like a little bit more permanency of shows that happened because there was like this filtering through of information that came into it. Like they almost stuck a little bit more. But you're right, like you kind of had to go because knowing what happened next would take you several weeks to find out.
Yeah. Or you'd be relying on people who've been at the show, like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, but then I think about the shows that like you were on, and you know, Tommy End, there was so much talent. Hardcore Holly, you know, that was my first Tidal show, I think, the Hardcore Holly.
Oh, was it? Oh, interesting.
And it's like to see all the talent that's gone through, and it's not as broadcast as it would be now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and part of that also comes into like the changing landscape of like American professional wrestling as well, and like having the two companies and having them like sign everybody and having the like the deep denseness of their developmental contracts and stuff now. But yeah, Tidal was unbelievable. Like the whole reason why I was on the first Tidal is because Eddie Kingston couldn't make the first one. Like, unfortunately for the people that wanted to see Eddie Kingston, he got replaced with 21-year-old Liam Lazarus in green shorts getting beat up by Dave Mastiff. But yeah, like if you look at the first cards, they're unbelievable. There's a triple threat that was Chris Hero, Pete Dunne, and I want to say it's Joe Connors in that as well. And like just unbelievable stuff. Like, you know, we had Ricochet there on a pretty regular basis. The first show that I was on, Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano were on the show, and I'm like a US independent mark, and I'm like, oh hi, I'm Liam, and like introduced myself, and then thought that kind of shorter than I imagined. But yeah, like just the depth of talent that came through those doors was unbelievable, and across the country there was unbelievable talent that came through. I will say though, I think that we relied a lot more on the US independent talent, whereas now I think shows now are way more about the people that are homegrown and British, and there's a stronger connection to the rosters that exist in promotions now.
Yeah, I think British wrestling as a whole is just more widely known now. You know, I've had so many people on here who've been like, I always wanted to do it, but I didn't know where to train because I thought you had to just get signed by WWE. Like, I thought that was it. I didn't think you could just go to a training school, and, you know, I didn't know that British independent wrestling existed. And I'm like, but how? Because I was so invested in it. I assumed everyone did know about it.
Yeah, that's the once I say this all the time to people that maybe come to PPW for the first time and stuff. It's like once you're in, then you're like, how did I not see all these things happening? Yeah. But when you're not in it, then how you just don't know. And it is like a problem, I think, for British wrestling of like we sometimes get caught on the inside of the bubble, and we need to be on the outside, being like, hey, look at all this cool stuff that's happening, which, you know, is part of a driving force of like PPW of like putting content out there that, you know, reaches people, because without reaching people, how do people know that you're there? And again, back in the day, like I got really fortunate that I was reading a magazine that was it was called Fighting Spirit magazine, and it was a UK publication about wrestling, and in there was an advert for UKW, and it said there was an academy in Wakefield, and I was like, sweet, I'll go, because before that point I'd assumed that the only place to train in England was All Star in Liverpool.
All right.
I kind of said to myself, right, when I get to 18, I'll have to go to Liverpool and train there, because there's nowhere else. There obviously was other places, but I just didn't know. Yeah. And I could have Googled it. This is the interesting thing as well that I think about sometimes, is that I could have Googled, but that thought never really crossed my mind. You know, like
we weren't so reliant on Google back then.
Yeah. Like I was on the internet. I remember being on like, you know, I used to do stick figure animation and all that sort of stuff there. I've got a load of figures that are over there that I've used for animation stuff. And like, I was online. Like, I knew the independent world existed. It just didn't click in my head that maybe I should search this out. But anyway, it was through a magazine that I found it, and I was like, oh, great. Like, I'll go. And then once you're in, you go, oh, and there's like shows that are happening here that I just never clocked.
But we did briefly before it started touch upon the talent that has come through UKW.
Yes,
One of them. Wesley has gone through UKW, and I think the most famous one at the moment, Leon.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Leon when he was 12, 13, on Blade at UKW, and to see like the talent that has gone through them doors, it's insane when you think about it.
It really, really is. And like, again, we were saying just before we started, like, it's not that it's been a consistent trainer all the way through that you could accredit it to. You know, like, the only thing, it's not even the same building, because the building has changed so many times. And where I started to where like other people have started has been several different places. The only consistent that has happened at UKW is that ring, is that 20-foot ring. There's just something about it, because again, if you think about the amount of people that have come through those doors, where, you know, you mentioned Wes, there's me, there's Leon, there's, you know, Lycos 2, Mega Calibra that came through, Jet Marshall that came through, and then like and I'm missing people in that. There's Nash that was there, you know, like Dynamite, James Danielson, I think maybe started at Grapple, but like quickly made a home at UKW as Dan James, you know, like Pete spent a bunch of time at UKW, loads. And then again, the new crop of people that have come through since it's been in like its current iteration of like, you know, Evan, George, Sebastian Mercer, the Sedgwick boys, like all of them, like so many. And I'm missing people there. There's Cliff Harrison as well, like loads. And I do apologize for the people that I have missed out on. Alfie as well, like, you know, that came through the doors, like so many people that, again, the only thing I can really accredit it to is that there's something in that 20-foot ring. It's not even a good ring. Like, when we used to have sessions with Vengabus, we used to put mats on the ring because like it was a stiff bump, but there's something to that ring.
That gets you ready for the other rings.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I was prepared. It's like, cool. Yeah, exactly. This is the biggest ring that there is, and it's the stiffest ring that there is. So anything else now is a blessing.
I love my time there. I really do, like you say, watching George and Evan, because I first clocked eyes on George. I was watching online, and I was like, well, he's good. And that, you know, and then I started going down and getting to know these guys as well. And I think they're all such lovely guys as well.
Yes.
They all speak very highly of you. I think I don't think there's anyone that I've ever spoken to who doesn't speak highly of you. Never, ever. Everyone's like, Liam Slater, best guy ever.
I try to, you know, be nice and do nice things.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. Obviously, we don't want to go too far into the past, but there was a lot of issues. And do you kind of, you know, when you have got the young talent coming in and that, do you try and be what you didn't get back then?
So this is a question that I've kind of, again, I was thinking about as we were coming to this, and like I think about on a semi-regular basis. It kind of links back into what we were talking through of like Lazarus, and like I think about training that I received from several different people. I had a wonderful, wonderful start point where I got extremely fortunate, where I had people like, you know, Rampage Brown just came back from America. He just spent a year or so in FCW. And for whatever reason, he was like, I guess I'll train at UKW. I guess I'll be the coach at UKW. On a regular basis, there was like 4 of us there. There was like me, Jack Turner, Wes, and then like a couple of other people that floated in and out. And I got probably 6 months of intermediate training with Rampage Brown, which I do accredit a lot to. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff that comes into there. But like Danny Steele was somebody that, like, you know, was a real coach to me in the beginning point, and somebody that like really looked after me. You know, and like I spent a lot of time with Vengabus, and I traveled around a lot with Vengabus and Prince Amin as well. And I love Prince Amin. And there's all these people that, you know, did a lot for me. And I wonder, one, I try and pay back stuff that I know that they did for me. And then I also think, I wonder if I'd had a one person, would that have been different? You know, and I've had several mentors throughout the years. And I don't know whether it's something that is me or is something that, you know, I've just not taken from them. And I've taken a lot, you know, and like sometimes I maybe think too much on the negative of like, maybe if I'd have done this, maybe if I'd done this, and not looking at where like I am now and like, you know, the wrestler that I am now, and the person that I am now. But yeah, I try as much as possible to be a positive influence and to try and give people the things that I maybe look back on and gone, damn, I should have done that. Like, you know, this idea that like, you know, people will bring you in and stuff. And it's like, no, you have to go to people. Like, you have to go out there and you have to like send a message. And this is how the message would work. And it, again, it's conversations that I probably had and didn't take in.
Yeah.
So I just need to keep having those conversations, you know.
I have been told that you like cater to like every individual person as well.
I really try to. I really try to, like, you know, because it's not a one size fits all. It's wrestling's different for every single person that comes through the door. So, for example, if we take like a George Hunter, like what he needs and what his aspirations are and all that sort of stuff is going to be different from a HMD and like where he currently is and what he needs to hear, which is going to be different from a Rex Heartless, who, you know, is a wonderful person and does great things. He's going to need different things. Then there's people that are coming through that, like, you know, I've got somebody that's got, you know, if they've got kids and stuff like that and they've got a life and they just want to do wrestling because they enjoy wrestling, well, great. I want you to have the best time that you can. But then there's also like this, you know, young lads and lasses that are coming through that's like, right, you want to do this more seriously? Well, okay, we've got to think about this without diluting the training down and stuff like that. So yeah, I try as much as possible to factor in different people and what they need out of me.
Now, we will talk about Tidal again. The lift spot. Was that like properly planned? Like,
yeah.
You decided I'm going to go through this lift.
Yeah. So I guess like to give a bit of background for people that maybe don't know like the whole like lift story, because again, you say like the lift and it's like, yeah, cool. I perfectly envision like what that moment is, but there'd be loads of people like, what do you mean? So Idol Championship Wrestling was running in the Stylus Union bar that was in the Leeds Uni. Now that bar was like, it was the dance floor and then it was a raised section of like standing area around it. So it was basically like a little pit that you put the ring in. There was maybe 50 to 100 people that would stand ringside, and then there was the raised balcony bit and you'd stand over there, and then there was the stage and stuff. There's probably clips and stuff, and I'm sure that you might insert some. But basically, to accommodate for people, the uni had put in a disability lift. I don't think that's the correct phrasing for it, but it was a lift that wheelchairs could go in and up and down into. It was maybe 10 foot, maybe a bit less than that, maybe 9, but it was definitely taller than you would be standing. Like I could probably put my hand up and like I'd just be touching like almost near the top of where the balcony was. So this drop was about 10 foot down. Now, whenever anybody spilled to the outside at TCW and Tidal, the crowd would chant, "In the lift, in the lift." It was a consistent, and everybody would throw people into the lift, but you couldn't open the door. And we had just assumed that this door was locked and there was no way of getting in it, but it was open from the top. Also, what a terrible like access that nobody could access it. And it was filled, like the bottom of it had all like cans and like cups and stuff like that that were in there. So we just gone, this just obviously doesn't work. Now, there is is it a last man standing match? I believe it's a last man standing match, and it's me and Rampage Brown. And this in the lift chant had been going. I'm like, I'm gonna kill this chant. I'm gonna go in the lift. So we planned the spot and we were working around. He was like, yeah, and then we get to here, and then I'll go a suplex, and then you suplex me and lift me, and then I'll just bam and down into the bottom of it. Falsely assuming that I was going to get to the bottom and it was going to be locked. And then, and this is how much we thought about it, I went, provided that happens, you will have to reach over and grab me, and I'll just grab you. And Rampage Brown, being the strongest man in British wrestling, would have pulled me up from there. And I guarantee that would have happened. So we do the spot, and I don't think anybody's really expecting us to do it. Like it's not like it was so unteased. So I get lifted and just dropped into it, and I hit the door, bam, and it flies open. And then I'm just laid on the floor being like, oh, I don't have to get pulled out of this now because it had just opened and like Rampage is to the top and he came down the stairs and stuff like that. But yeah, like it was a planned spot because I was like, I have an innate feeling like when it comes to wrestling of like, I need to pay off the thing. And the thing for Tidal was in the lift. And I was like, I'm going to pay this off. We have set up a story and I will end the story by going in the lift.
Well, the thing is, for all us that saw you back then and that's one of the things we mostly remember. It's like it was such because, like you say, everyone wanted it, and you were the one to finally do it. So it's like everyone thinks of Liam and the lift. Yeah,
I knew it needed to be done. I knew it. And I was like, cool. I'm going in this lift, and I was like, it'll be fine. I'll land. It's cool. Like whatever. But I knew that I needed to go in it to again, pay this kind of chant off. And I think that's probably like a defining point of like Tidal in that building.
Definitely.
That Dave Mastiff throwing the disco ball in right? That was, we got in some serious trouble for that. But yeah, that and the lift, I think are two big points for Tidal in the Stylus Union Bar.
I loved it. I wish it was still in the Stylus. Like if I could have it there, have a show in there all the time, I would.
I've spoken to a promoter who has looked into booking that venue, and the costs of it are astronomical.
Oh,
right, because it's the best. Would it be the best? Would I, go back in there and be like, I remember what this used to be? I don't know, but I'd love for there to be a show in there. But yeah, the costs are astronomical. It just didn't make any financial sense in any sort of way or shape to be able to run a show in there now.
Like we all used to just queue on the stairs in this university. They'd have uni students just staring at us. But that's how I met Jacob Reed.
Yeah.
At the top of that queue. We were always at the front, and he was 13, 14.
Yeah.
And I met him and his granddad, and look at, and now I've had chance, thanks to PPW, to announce one of his matches.
Yeah.
We were both nearly crying because it meant so much to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And like on the other side of the building bit, not only are you having uni students walk past you, we're having uni students walk past us as well, because like there was the space to get changed, which was tiny. It wasn't a big space. So then we'd all spill out into the corridor. So then we'd be going out the corridor and up and out. And there was even this like, we'd even gone as far as to going into this like seated area, because there was like tables and stuff like that, where people were like actually doing work. Like we definitely shouldn't have been that far out, but we really spilled all the way through. So yeah, on a regular basis, we'll just have like uni students walking past us, like looking at these men in like tiny pants and like covering themselves in like baby oil or whatever the in thing was at the time.
God.
Yeah, it was silly, really.
But it was the best time. Like me and James argue about because he went to Temple of Boom for Tidal, and I say now uni. I never went to Temple of Boom. Can't comment, but I will stand by the fact that the uni was the best.
I'd been to a couple, and I know why. Do you know what's nice about Tidal is that there's almost those two eras of it, and also there's a third era before that point, which is the cockpit. That was the basis out of it, and like so many like people and like little matches that I managed to have in that venue that was filled with asbestos, which we probably shouldn't have been wrestling in, but that's a shame. To then have the Stylus era, which again I hold incredibly close to my heart, which again I sometimes think about. I had some really good matches in there. I wrestled some really good people in that building, and I wonder, could I have done more to capitalize on that? Like when I think back, when I reflect, could I have done more to? And again, this is what I always say to like the lads now, is like you have to make connections. You have to be able to reach out to somebody, to know them, because there was a bunch of people that came through the Stylus. And again, I'll give Ian credit for this. He booked people from far and wide, and I think actually a lot of people got some of their first like outside their area bookings from Tidal. And I probably could have made more out of chasing people back, of being like, hey, remember me from Tidal? Why don't I come to you? And like, that's something that I think about on a now and again basis when I'm talking to young lads and lasses about reaching out and stuff like that. To go back to the point, Temple of Boom has its whole, era and stuff like that. And I went to a couple of those shows and they were fun. I don't think they're as fun as the Stylish shows, but I understand why people like the building.
And then obviously there was the church and the O2 Academy. There was so many different venues. But I really loved the church as well, to be honest.
That is the one Tidal venue that I never went in. I was never in the church. I never watched anything in the church. I never wrestled in the church. It completely slipped me by. O2 Academy, I wrestled a couple of times in there, and I did a couple for WCPW as well. Temple of Boom, I went to a couple of the shows. But yeah, church completely passed me by. It's a completely...
That's crazy.
Just a venue that I never ever went in.
Wow. I mean, I, at the time, met one of my favourite wrestlers there, but we can't mention him. Not my favourite anymore. But the talent that you fought at NGW as well, you've had like Dara Diablo, Joseph Connors, Dan James. We've got to talk about Dan James a little bit because I love the guy.
Obviously, it's difficult where everybody's so busy and we're so busy and stuff like that. And it's been a long while since I've been in touch with Dan, and I'm glad to see that he's back in and he's doing stuff. And I'm glad to see that he's found a place where he can go, cool, I'm doing some stuff now. Because again, the chase was always let's try and get out as far as we can. And I think had the scene been different and had the feel been different, I think he would have done what he's doing now long ago. But that wasn't the thing. The person that was in a top position was saying you have to be busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and if you're not a good wrestler. So that was the mental mindset that we were all in.
Yeah.
But then not how do you get busy? Just so you have to be busy. Okay. And then when you're not, through no fault of your own, so it was difficult. And I think probably that took a wear on Dan. And I'm glad that he's been able to come back in again, find his rhythm back at Blackheart and stuff like that. So yeah, that's good to see. But yeah, we can touch on Dan all day long.
Yeah, because you had quite a feud with Dan at NGW as well.
Yeah.
So did you tag with him? And then he turned up.
Yeah, so he tagged. This was all involved in this mental Joseph Connors story that went on for an eon. Went on forever and ever and ever.
Trying to recruit you. Is that what it was?
Yes.
So
Joe's whole thing was do you know what? Funnily enough, there's almost elements of the Joe Connors faction that is now coming through Slater Dojo stuff, not intentionally, but now that I'm thinking about it, there's definitely these little parallels of him being a mastermind behind things and trying to game plan and and that's what I do at Rev Pro quite a lot now, which I've not actually thought about. So cheers, Joe, for that. But basically, Joe was for some reason was desperate to corrupt me, and I was uncorruptible. So then you had my brother and that happening, and Dan James turned on me, and then Dan joined his team, and I was the kind of uncorruptible youth of NGW alongside their main baby faces to combat the evil of Joseph Connors.
Oh, I loved Joseph Connors back then.
I think Joe is so good in main event roles where it needs a character that has a depth to it. And I think what happens quite a lot is that then promotions go, but we'll put you in this mid-card position. And then he's forced to go, well, I'll tweak this. And I think the angles that he's in a kind of a similar way to a Bray Wyatt, it has to be a focal point of the show.
Yeah.
And I think it can come in and out, but when it's in, it has to be the focal point. Yeah. And this is something that I think about when it comes to someone like a Rampage Brown. If I go back to him, Rampage is your top star. And when I've seen it so many times where people go, yeah, we'll put the belt on him and then we won't make the belt the focal point of the show. No, it has to be. But again, this is where you get like the divisions of wrestlers, promoters, bookers, fans, all that sort of stuff that kind of makes its way through there. But yeah, Joe did some incredible stuff. He did some great promos, especially like, again, in the time that we were in where we were really just kind of like sitting on like a social media like edge of it. I think he did a great job for NGW stuff.
Definitely. Right. I did get some Instagram questions for you.
Please.
Who of all the people you've coached would you say has the most potential to be as postmodern as you?
Oh, most potential to be as postmodern. That is a good question. I think George Hunter has yet to untap his ironic side. He does it now and again, and I go, and I was actually, it's funny you mentioned that, I was actually going to like mention it to him that I think he should do more like ironic things, because I think him as a person is quite like self-aware and ironic, and I'd like to see more of that. Is there anybody else that I would consider? So I've got some young lads that have just started. They're nowhere near like ready to go or anything like that. But what I've noticed is on their Instagram, like they tend to blur out their faces quite a lot. I just think it's a thing that they do. So like if they're ever in a photo, like they blur their face. And I just think
I know who you're talking about.
Maybe we've posted them on a story like a couple of times. And again, like they've got a long way to go. I think there's like a really good basis for them there. But I just love the fact that like, it's so weird, like they just blur out the face. There's a group photo and then they blur the face, and I'm like, I'm quite about that. Maybe them, maybe the young lads that are coming through.
This one's going to be a bit of a mouthful for me to get out. On a scale of post to postmodern, how postmodern would you say you are? There we go.
So I think the question is phrased wrong. On a scale of post to postmodern, surely it would be on a scale of modern to postmodern.
Yes, let's go with that. We'll change the question.
Unless the question is on a scale of post to modern, in the space between post to modern, am I closer to post or modern? Now we ask the question.
Yeah.
I think the origins of the character is more postmodern than what the postmodern element of the character is now. I think the deeper I go into promotions, the more modern I become, to the downfall of what I set out to do.
There we go.
Like it matters. Like it makes any sense.
But we'll run with it.
Somewhat postmodern is what I would classify myself as.
What? You have to start putting that somewhat in little letters next to postmodern.
Less postmodern than he used to be.
Are there any up-and-comers you'd like to add to Slater Dojo or step in the ring with?
Oh, I wish I had the opportunity to wrestle like the group of people that were coming up into now more than I do. Like I get the chance to work with them a lot within training, but like I'd love to be able to do more in terms of matches and stuff like that, and just being able to work with them. It's a missing facet of PPW that I think we will get to at some point. But like the up and comers getting shows is something that we're trying to work on and we're trying to like reestablish. But like, yeah, there's loads. Like I'd love to work with everybody. As far as the Slater Dojo goes, who knows? I think if you've been watching Rev Pro, there's definitely eyes of like who I'm trying to bring in. More than that, I don't know. I wouldn't want to fill it up too much and then lose what it is or what it would become.
I think we need, because obviously Gung Ho and George get compared a lot, but also you and George get compared a lot.
Yeah,
I think we need a triple threat between you three.
So
just cause.
I'm probably right in the middle of those two, because I think Gunho does great character stuff. I think he's always been very good from his like early days of like Stop Laughing.
Yeah,
like, I don't know if you remember that point of him, but like
I don't remember it, I've seen it. Yeah,
and I remember seeing that being like, oh, this is very clever for somebody that's I know maybe isn't getting that pushed behind them. They've just got that internally. So when we go character side, I think that's a lot like he probably does more than me. And then on the other side of it, there's George, who's like super athletic and stuff. And then I'm in the valley between them both of like the drip of like character stuff comes through into me here, and then the drip of athleticism like comes through into me there. And then I'm the wash basin between the two.
Are you selling yourself short?
Maybe.
Do you still like to party?
No. No, I do not. So here's a fun story about the last time that I partied, which was at Planet Wrestle. So were you at the jumpsuit match?
I announced the jumpsuit match.
What, in the Holbeck show?
Yeah, and Rebecca got me in the ring and was like,
yes,
that was the main event. And I was like, what?
Yes, of course, yes. So the jumpsuit. So anyway, for those of you that don't know, there was a jumpsuit match where I had challenged the Music Man to a jumpsuit match. Music Man's my favorite wrestler, by the way. I love Music Man. I'd watch Music Man wrestle all day, every day, and he doesn't know that. But well, no, he does know that because I tell him, but I don't think he knows how much that I enjoy watching him. So the jumpsuit match was, if I win, I get to burn his jumpsuits, and if he wins, I have to put the jumpsuit on and dance. Now, the jumpsuit that I was wearing was Music Man's original jumpsuit, like his first ever jumpsuit, and it had chains on it. So I put the jumpsuit on and we're dancing, and then I'm like, play the music, and it's the Vengabus, and yes, we're all dancing. But in all this commotion, the chains have like flown off, or like two of the chains have flown off. So some young girl who has come to the Holbeck, who I don't think was a wrestling fan, but was in the area, had taken the chains off ringside, and then run off with them.
Oh.
So as I'm leaving, she walks up to me because I'm like, Liam's left the building, and I'm walking off to the fire door, and she comes up to me. She's like, I've got your chains. And I was like, can I have them back? And she's like, no. I was like, oh, can I have them back? No. So I go through the fire door, and in my head going, so they're going to get put back. Someone's going to pick them up as like she leaves or whatnot. Anyway, I come back through, and I come back into the ring, and I'm leaving again. And then I leave, and then I'm outside. So I'm outside, and this girl turns up again. Luckily, I guess, because I wouldn't have seen her if I hadn't gone through that door again, with the chains in hand. She's like, I've got your chains. And I'm also doing a full Music Man impression. So Music Man does an Elvis Presley impersonation. He's very, very good at it. And I do a Music Man impression, which I'm not very good at. So I'm going like, little girl, I need those chains back. And she's like, no. She's going, give me those chains and I'll give you these chains. I don't think that works particularly well, little girl. And I'm increasingly getting more frustrated. And also there's two cars that are outside as well that she's kind of stood between. And I say, in the phrase of, if you keep stealing stuff in a Music Man voice, if you keep stealing stuff, little girl, you're going to have a bad time in the future. Basically implying, if you keep stealing stuff, you're going to go to prison. Like, you can't just steal things. I'm getting increasingly frustrated at this point, but still doing a Music Man impersonation, like still like throwing these hands through. And this guy gets out of the car. He collars her, he grabs her, and he goes, give me those chains back now. Wham. He then shoves them at me. Bam, I've got hold of them here. And he goes, have we got a problem, mate? And I was like, no, sir. And he's like, because you do say that she was going to have a bad time if she didn't give you those chains back. And I was like, no, sir. I'm still doing a Music Man impersonation. I'm like, no, sir. He's like, because I'll fucking batter you, sausage. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I just want my chains back, man. And also, I've got a handful of chains. Like, and I'm not saying like I'm a great fighter, but like, had it come down to it, I had a handful of chains. But I was also looking around being like, I'm in Holbeck here. I'm in a jumpsuit of Elvis, doing an Elvis impersonation. There's a car full of people here. There's a car full of people here. And there's a group of people up here that are like patrons of the bar. And I was like, I'm going to get out of here as quickly as I can. So as I've got the chains in hand, I was like, and also the only reason that I was even contemplating getting these chains back was because it was the Music Man's original jumpsuit. Had it been anything else, if it had been something that I'd have bought, don't care, go. Yeah. But I was like, the sentimentality that he's put into this, there was no way that I was leaving without those chains. Had she just run off, then okay, they'd have gone. But luckily, the scrubby man who grabbed her, threatened her, and then threatened me and called me a sausage, gave me the chains back, and I was like, "Cool, I'm going now," and then went back inside again. So that was fun. So there you go. That's why I don't party anymore.
I can see why. Yeah, I'm in full agreement. That's a story. Will you ever use the Vengabus entrance again?
Refer to that last story.
I need to know why the Vengabus to start with. Like, what was you a huge fan of the Vengabus?
No. So as I first started, I was using generic rock songs. There was a band called Bastion who I listened to. They're a small Welsh band. I don't think they exist anymore, but I enjoyed the songs. I'd use them. I'd use Gallows. I was using heavy rock. But I realized that a lot of people were using heavy rock. And I went, I need something different. So on my iPod Classic at the time, I had I like a lot of music, and 90s dance music I like quite a lot. Like, I've seen the Prodigy live. I just like that style of music. So I was just kind of going through it, and like, I think I've got a pretty good ear for entrance musics of like timings and drop points and all that sort of stuff. So I was listening through and I was like, no. And We Like to Party by the Vengabus is the last song on this compilation of like 100 songs, right? It's the last one. And I listened to it, and I'm sat on the bus, and I could probably go back to the point. Also, I'm going to say this now. I should have mentioned earlier. I love my wife. My wife's the best. She's fantastic. Something that my wife hates about me is that I remember things really specifically for some things that definitely don't matter. And then other things that are actually really important, I have a terrible, terrible memory for. So, Slater, I do apologize that my memory is awful, apart from when I need to remember where I was when I listened to the Vengabus and made the decision to use the music. I was on the bus to uni. And there's Bradley Bar that's like going from Brighouse to Huddersfield. It's by a big Asda. And I was going round the roundabout about to come off, and I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, this kind of works. So NGW had a show in Hull at the Welly, which was like an over 18 show. And I'd said to Geach, who was like the second-hand man at NGW, and if people are listening to this who know that past, I've probably reawoken memories of the Geach. But I said to Geach, I was like, I want to use We Like to Party by the Vengabus. And he went, no word of a lie, he went, I don't think that's going to work. And I went, please, let me try it. If it doesn't work, cool, no worries. But I think I need to try it, because I'd also used it at a GBW show just to test it. And I was like, okay, like, this works on the drop point, but I need it to be in front of more than 8 kids who are watching the show. That GBW, there was 8 kids and the parents that were sat at the back. But this was an actual show.
Yeah.
I wrestled Zach Gibson on that show as well, in a match that happened. So yeah, I used it and it went down really well. So then I just started using it more and more and more, and then it just became the thing. And then it became the thing of like, right, so I come out to this music, now I have to wrestle with that interlinked to it, because if not, then there's no point in the music, which is where like the dancing came into it and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's where it came from. I was on a bus ride. I don't massively like the Vengabus, but I knew that it could work, and I used it. And it was getting over, and I was like, cool, I'm going to have to use this. And this is like a huge piece of advice that I give to people and I talk about, and I'd like to mention to people, is like, you will get bored of stuff before they get bored of it, and try as much as you can to keep going on that thing, even though you're bored of it, even though you're sick of it. If you can get more mileage out of it, always get more mileage out of it. I see it happen with people that are doing funny characters, and then they go, but I want to be serious. But it's like, but you can still get more out of funny. So get more out of funny. Or like, people are getting over as a baby face, and then they go, should I be a heel? No, you should still be a baby face. Or people get the opportunity to go to a bigger show, and they go, should I change what I'm doing now to accommodate for the bigger show? No, you should do what you're doing now, because that's why they've brought you in. Now, I'd got to a point where I was absolutely sick and done with Vengaboys. I had it for all my entrances at Butlins, and I just went, every time that I went out through the curtain, I went, I'm sick of this song. And then I had to go out and dance to it every time, without fail.
Oh.
I'd do two matches. We'd do singles and then maybe a tag or like a rumble. So I'd always have to go. I know I hate this song. I had enough by that point. And what I really needed to do was like reshape everything that I was doing. And I was just I didn't commit enough to changing, is what I would say.
Right.
So anyway, there's a whole story of the Vengaboys.
Wow. And leading on from that, we are going to play Can They Vengabus?
Oh, okay.
So
I'm interested.
This is 10 past opponents. You've got to say if you'd let them on your Vengabus and why.
Interesting. Okay.
So first up is Dan James.
Okay, so to qualify of can they Vengabus and can they come on the Vengabus, what do I want out of them for coming on the bus?
That's entirely up to you. That's all up to you. You've just got to tell me if they're allowed on your Vengabus or not. And why.
For the simple fact of being a travel companion and for not killing me when we got diverted massively coming back from a Rampage Brown training seminar one time where I thought actually we were going to die. We'd been diverted 3 times and we came up to a diversion and there was a truck that was at the diversion. I don't even know why, but we got out of the car and Dan went up to him and he's like, we've been diverted 3 times. We were following triangles, and then we were following circles, and then we were following squares. And now this one is an open square. What are we doing? And the guy went, sorry, mate, I only deal with the open squares. I thought I was going to die. I thought this is it. Like, Dan's just going to kill me. We're literally going to drive off of a bridge. I thought he was either going to go through them or he's just going to kill us both. So for that simple fact, Dan can be on the Vengabus.
Joseph Connors.
I think Joseph Connors would prefer not to be on a Vengabus, but I think Joseph Connors would like to go to a cafe and have a very calorie-friendly but still delicious form of baked treat. So rather than going on the Vengabus, I will find a baked treat that is calorie controlled so he doesn't feel bad about it. Because anytime that I see Joe posting something online, it's usually some form of like ridiculous baked good, and he's like, I would drive to the end of the earth to sniff the ladle that was put on the pan to make this. So that's
such a way with words. I've thrown this one in. Nathan Black.
No.
I don't even need an explanation.
No, maybe I would. I don't know. No, we'd go in his old. Would I go in the Worm? I wouldn't go in the Worm. I'll be in the bus. He can be in the old Cadillac Worm, and he can drive past, and he can be doing something.
Sean Only. Would you let Sean Only on your Vengabus?
Would Sean Only like to come on the Vengabus? I don't think that he would. I think it would be too Euro pop and not skate enough or hardcore punk enough for him. So I don't think that, even if I offered the invitation for Sean Only to come on the Vengabus, I don't think that he would take it. He would shred a kickflip off the side of it. There you go. I bet that's infuriating to him that I've said the wrong terminology for skateboarding.
It will be. This next guy I think will want to. Martin Kirby.
Would he? It depends if he's on Team Nasty or Team Mega Slam.
Oh yeah, true.
That's the one. So I suppose it depends on what day you catch him on. If he's in Team Nasty and I invite him, I don't think he would. I don't think he would take it.
No, but if he's not, then.
But if he's not, he might come on board.
Yeah, I can just picture him dancing away on the Vengabus.
Kind of half ironically as well. Like him and Joey Hayes as just mates from PCW is kind of a lasting image that I have of Martin Kirby, where like they would do it, but knowing that they were taking the piss.
Yeah, the Proven. Both of them.
Do you know what? In my head, I was thinking about people that would come up, and I knew the Proven would come up. Yes, for you, yes, the Proven could come on board. I hope that some. Do you know what? Kaz actually came to PPW a couple of times fairly recently.
He did the song.
Yeah. So it was good to see him. I hope Sam Wilder is doing well. He just went to be an electrician, I believe. But yeah, I hope they're both doing well and doing good. But yes, they can come on board. They'd probably trash it, right? Like they'd probably do proven things and be like, "We're the proven."
I miss the proven so much.
Again, I was thinking, I was like, I knew that somewhere in this the proven had come up.
I watched you and Matt Myers against the proven on YouTube last night.
Superpower Party Force.
Yes.
Again, another thing that we could have probably done more with, and we didn't.
I've actually got that written down. Superpower Party Force. Dara Diablo.
Dara's too wild. It would go from Europop to things that happen in Europe that should stay in Europe. I would believe with Dara. He's a lunatic, but again, a really nice dude. I've got a lot of time for Dara, and again, we've stayed at Dara's house when we were in Hull and stuff like that. And we slept on his couch because we were just trying to make it and just being there to help out with setups and stuff like that. And you didn't have to, but you did.
Blast from the past here, JD Boom.
Yeah, do you know what? No, so I'll take the Vengabus. I'm pretty sure he still runs it, but I'll take the Vengabus and I'll go to his little store that he has, because it pops up now and again. And I go, this is really fun. And also I stayed at JD Boom's house once as well. Again, the whole lads were all super exceptional and just being super welcoming and letting me stay places. They really didn't have to, but I stayed at JD Boom's house, and I wish I could go back now and look at the things that he had, because it was just this treasure trove of anything that you could actually imagine that was ever made into a wrestling figure he had in his house. So yes, I'll take the bus. He can get on the bus and he can direct me to his store. Nexus, right? I believe it's called.
Yes. We check in with each other every now and again and drop the occasional hi and the occasional message, and it's nice. We have a little catch up.
I'm glad that he's still doing stuff and he's well.
He's getting back in wrestling. He was hilarious.
Yeah, the JD Boom's run through Tidal is a real staple of people that maybe got written off by a lot of people and going, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And he had some standout moments. He had some really standout moments.
He did. HT Drake.
Yeah, he's gonna be handy to have on there as somebody that can fix things.
I was gonna say, so he can fix the bus if it breaks.
Absolutely, yeah. So he fix the bus when it inevitably breaks down.
And the last one is Rampage Brown.
I'm afraid that Rampage Brown probably has legs that are too big to fit on the Vengabus. Nor would he. Rampage Brown is not going to want to be on a bus that is playing €99 pop. He's going to want to be at home, just relaxing to himself. My forever image of Rampage Brown is when he was talking. This was really early days of his daughter being born, who's now 10 or something like that, which is unbelievable in my head, because I was no, she's a real person now. But I remember him talking about him saying when she first brings a boy around, he's going to be sat in his armchair in his underwear with a bat. And I was I physically cannot picture anything scarier than the Rampage Brown sat there with a bat being so, you're interested in my daughter? I'd leave.
Yeah.
I'd turn around and go. So I really feel that day, unfortunately for Rampage, is really not far off, and someone's going to have a real bad time.
Oh, definitely. I would not want that.
But also, what I will say is that while he is a very, very scary man on the exterior, I've got a lot of time and love for Rampage Brown. The amount of knowledge and guidance that he gave me, in the early days, and just being sound and just saying stuff, and I'd love to have seen what could have been for Rampage. It's a really story of what could have been. But I do hope and I do think that with his family and stuff like that, he is happy in himself. But it is a shame that the system that was in place was weighted against him unfairly and unfavorably.
On that serious note, I did want to talk about you and how I watched you at Grapple fight Rolling Mark Rolls. I wanted to touch on that because obviously the character of that Mark Rolls portrays now is completely different.
But also that was what Mark Rolls was as well. So I'd wrestled Ian Creed, and then I'd also wrestled Mark Rolls, and then we were also a team. We were the Grapple Tag Team Champions at one point.
Yes, you were. I think
Um,
I watched a show with you two as a team.
Yeah.
Like, even now, if he does a roll, I'm like, hey, and he's like, stop it. Or they'll be taking ring down at Blackheart, and I'll just walk past him going, rolling. And he's like, Nikki.
Great times.
I like to just drop in the occasional in joke.
Yeah, absolutely. I do the same.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been over an hour. That's all the questions I had. What's next for Liam? Are you just? How long do you think you're going to keep wrestling?
It's a good question, really. It's something that I ask myself. It's an interesting one because, again, like, there's so many factors that come into it. Like, I wouldn't have expected 2 years ago to be in the position that I'm in currently with like Rev Pro, where like that takes up so much of my calendar now, which is wicked. It's unbelievable. And the position that I'm in, again, if I think to 2015, 2014, Liam, I'd been like, hey, you'd be in this position. I don't think I'd have believed it. How much I've got in that, who knows? There could be a lot, there could be a little. I've also got to think as well, like, I am getting older, which accounts to a lot of things, from like wrestling, but then also life as well, and you know what comes in with life and life milestones that need to get hit and stuff like that. And there's obviously bits in that then impact how much that I'd be able to go and travel and stuff like that, because if there's a small mouth that is at home going, hey, I'm going to go to London and back in a day, is maybe not the best thing in the world. So there's those factors that I've really got to factor in. Is a lasting legacy PPW where I'm helping people and training at PPW? Yeah, quite possibly. Like what that looks like in the next coming years, who's to know? But I try not to now think too much about it, of like where it's going to go, because who knows is really the answer to it. Who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? Who knows? What the lay of stuff looks like and all that sort of stuff. And it is something that I would have liked to have. If there's stuff that I could say to like a past me, would be like, don't worry so much about where you could be, worry about what you're doing right now. There'd be loads that I would say. But yeah, I'm probably in a way better position now. I think that I'm a better wrestler now. I think that I do better stuff now. But there's loads of questions as to what could have been. As to what the future is, who knows?
But I do just want to say that I think you are such an amazing person. You've always had time for me, even back in day. You always made time for me. You always was ready to have a chat or a giggle or a photo or whatever. And the fact that you're still that person and you've come so far and you're still that same nice, consistently nice guy, I think is absolutely incredible. And to see the Liam that I see now and the Liam I saw back then, it's like two different people, but not. And I just want to...
I do think the same. Like, I do think the same. I do think that the route that I've gone, where it might not have been the most success, has actually led to the most success of like, being in a good place and, having a super supportive wife who has helped me to be even better and be able to tap into the niceness and the helping stuff and more and more. And she gives so much for me to be able to do that as well, which, I can't fault. But yeah, like I am glad that despite everything that's happened, like, I have been able to do that. And, it's wonderful. Like when you came and you're like, I want to do a ring announcement. I was like, awesome. Like what a lovely like path that we've gone through of like where we've started to where we've gone to where we're at now, where like you're in a loads better place. And like, it's lovely seeing you going out and doing stuff and like, like the impact that you're making into the world, which is awesome to see. And again, with stuff that you've got coming up as well, it just continues from there. So as much as you want to say thanks, I want to say thanks as well for support and stuff that you've given me.
We've grown up.
No, yeah, absolutely. Who'd have thought it?
I know. And thank you so much for doing this, because
it's all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely no worries. I tend not to do too much of these, but like when you mentioned it, I was like, yeah, of course, no problems.
Don't worry. Someone said the other day, I would probably just sit backwards the whole time. don't say that.
Well, no, because Liam Lazarus wouldn't sit backwards. He'd be forward on the floor or doing like a generic pose or this, and then that'd be the one.
I think my son had a photo of you going.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it. It's an 8x10. I've got green shorts on. I'm this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know exactly the one.
I do think you need to break it out one more time at some point.
Maybe on a retirement tour.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a world where I've got this pipeline image in my head of, I don't know how familiar you are with a guy called Tracy Smothers. Like, is it an old? Yeah, right. And like his like later runs of his years where like he's just like the most mental dude in the world. I'm like, maybe I just become Tracy Smothers.
Yes.
And then, like I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? If I start wearing like a singlet, the moment a singlet comes on is the moment that like Planet Wrestle Liam has taken over and like it just becomes.
Love Planet Wrestle, Liam. Love Planet Wrestle. I love it when you do the funny stuff. But you can do everything.
I try. I try.
You really can. Anyway, It's been great having you, and thank you again.
No, it's been great.
I would say check out socials and stuff for Liam, but everybody knows who Liam is. You know where to find him. If you want to train, PPW is the place. Honestly, just go and work with Liam. He's amazing. Thank you for watching this episode. Bye.
Goodbye.
And
Jobbing with Nicky.